Getting asked to do the speech in the moment when you weren't prepared to can be very frightening for some people, and it can be very difficult to deliver a great impromptu speech when you're asked to do it in the moment. But there are some things that you can do in advance of being put in that situation that can help you deliver great impromptu speeches over and over and over again, no matter what situation you're in or whenever you are asked to do it. Hi, I'm Ryan McLean. I'm from PublicSpeakingPower.com, where we teach people like you how to become powerful and effective public speakers. It sounds difficult to be able to become a better impromptu speaker. Impromptu speaking is being able to speak on the spot, given a topic that you didn't know in advance, and to be able to deliver it with ease, with confidence, and with flow. But impromptu speaking is something that you can learn over time and you can become better at. One of the best speeches that I've delivered in my life was the speech that I gave at my wedding. And the speech I gave at my wedding was an impromptu speech. I didn't have a speech written out, nor did I have a speech prepared. I got up, I knew that I needed to thank a couple of people, and then I let the speech flow from that and I created it as I went. At some point in time, I'll have to dig through my archives, find the DVD, and get the video up online so you guys can see the speech and judge for yourself whether it was good or not. But I got so much great feedback from that speech at my wedding, and that was something that I did in the spur of the moment. So you can get better at it, you can improve. So what are my tips on improving and becoming a better impromptu speaker so you can successfully deliver an impromptu speech? Well, tip number one is to anticipate it. So rather than just going through our daily lives thinking nothing or standing in the back corner, hoping that they don't pick us, please don't pick me, please don't pick me, please don't pick me, we can actually anticipate getting chosen to deliver a speech. And we don't have to go into, this doesn't have to be a big deal, but this is something that we can just do in our mind and say, look, if I was asked to get up and to deliver a speech or to deliver a 5-minute presentation, or if my colleague is sick and I need to speak, how am I going to do this? And we can just go through in our head a couple of ideas of things that we could speak about. So by anticipating these impromptu speeches before they happen, we can be in a better mental state when they do occur. What we want to do is avoid the deer in the headlights syndrome, which is when we get asked to speak, we weren't expecting it, and all of a sudden our brain just freezes over and we can't do anything about it. So by anticipating it, we're going to avoid that deer in the headlights syndrome. Tip number two is to understand mini speech structures. So if you're asked to give a toast or a presentation and it's very short notice, by understanding how to structure mini speeches, you can then easily create speeches in your own mind and easily deliver them on the spot. So you've got your most basic one, which is deliver a story and then deliver a core message or the moral of the story. So that's a very easy mini speech structure that you can use when you're getting up to deliver an impromptu speech. There's also the prep, which is PREP. So that is point, reason, example, point. So what you do is you deliver your point, you give your reason for delivering that point, you give an example of why you're right, and then you close on by restating the point again. And so that's a very simple structure as well. Another thing you can do is open up a topic, give the pros and cons, and then offer a conclusion and whether it is good or not. So that's a very simple mini speech structure as well. Tip number three is to archive stories of your own life in your mind. So what this means is going through everyday life, and when you read an important news story or you find out an interesting fact or something exciting happens to you, you can archive that story in your mind and say, I need to remember that. That will be a good thing to draw upon, and start to remember those things. I find it most effective to archive stories with the story and a core message attached to it as well. So rather than just remembering what happened to you, also remember some meaning that you can gather from that. For example, yesterday I was swimming in the pool with my children. And you know how sometimes you kind of just go through life and you're on autopilot, like when you're driving to work and you just unconsciously arrive at work and you have no idea how you got there. But then you have these moments in your life where you are extremely present. And I think that's some of the best moments and the ones that you will always remember. So I was in the pool with my son and my daughter, and we're playing around, and then all of a sudden I'm blowing raspberries on my son's cheek, and he is cackling like I have never heard him cackle before. And he was having so much fun, and he was so happy to be there with me, and I was just so present in that moment, just experiencing his joy. And for me, that was probably one of the best moments that I've had in my life, and definitely the best moment that I've had this year. So by being present and by making sure that we stay present, we can then live happier lives. And so there you have a story that I took from yesterday, and meaning that I took from that, which is try and be more present, because that's what life is all about. And I can now archive that story, so if I ever need to get up and give an impromptu speech, then I may be able to draw upon that story, or if not, draw upon other stories. So try and archive stories, and try and archive the core messages or the moral of those stories. So when you get up to speak, you've got this archive ready, and you can just pull from it, and you can deliver your presentation. Tip number 4 is to start to learn how to make connections between seemingly unrelated topics. Okay, that's a mouthful and a bit confusing, but what I mean by that is try and make interesting connections between two things that a normal person would think, oh, they're not related, or we wouldn't really talk about them in the same sentence. So by learning how to connect two things, we can better create stories, and we can better connect our stories with the core message that we want to deliver. The best and the most effective way I found of doing this is by playing the noun game. This is a game where you randomly generate two nouns, which are two different things, and you then need to go ahead and deliver a speech relating those two things together. So it might be shorts and the sun. Okay, so they're two nouns, shorts and the sun, and you then need to go on and deliver a speech about that. It might be, what I always use, the cat and the mechanic. Okay, well, how can we relate a cat and a mechanic? They're not seemingly related topics, but if we can relate them into a story and we become more effective at doing that, then it's going to make our impromptu speeches a whole lot easier. Trust me about this one. By being able to relate unseemingly related things, you get laughter, you get remembrance, and people love your speeches. And tip number 5 is to only speak as long as you need to. So don't waffle on, don't keep talking if you've delivered your core message and your speech has been successful. Understand when to stop your presentation, because that is just as important as understanding what to talk about. If you speak too long, people will only remember how long your speech was, not what you said. I remember going to a friend of mine's birthday, and they had about 10 or 20 people get up and give speeches, and it was like really late, and we hadn't had any dinner yet, and they had to do speeches first, and all I remember is how many speeches they were and how long those speeches were. I don't remember anything that was said, and one of my friends actually fell asleep during the speeches, and I had to wake him up when they were finished. But yeah, just keep your speeches as short as they need to be, don't waffle on, and don't talk for too long. So there you have 5 tips about how to successfully deliver an impromptu speech. If you want more videos, podcasts, or articles like this one, please head over to blog at publicspeakingpower.com. And until next time, go out there and practice and become a more powerful public speaker.